As we begin one of the first races of the new week of daily races, race C this week is at Spa-Francorchamps. Starting in P14, I've chosen not to put a lap time in, but I've been practicing as much as I can to get as quick as I can, as quickly as possible. As we start in 14th, my goal is to get as high as possible and try and get a win out of this somehow. As we convert into VR mode, we are now getting probably in the best position at the start to get a good line through the bus stop chicane, if you have to go through it, as I get a great exit onto the start-finish straight, but unfortunately the Dodge Viper has better drive on this short straight and gets away from me and managed to hold on to P13. As we come into turn 1, I consider going up the inside of him, but realise it's too early in the race to really even risk that, as all four of us go through the first corner very smoothly as the cars ahead got away as they weren't held up as much from the bus stop chicane. As we come down the hill for the first time heading to Eau Rouge and Raidillon, we see everyone disappearing over the horizon as I get a good line through Eau Rouge, as the Viper gets a bit squirrely as I push up down the back straight. I've got enough of a tow here to probably have an attempt at getting on the inside of him up to turn 4. As I'm closing, I think the Dodge Viper just has a little bit too much on me at this stage of the race. As we enter the chicane for the first time, if we see that car on the right, it means he's crashed. That means we move up a free position up to P13. A lot of crazy shit going on. Another car coming back on the track, the Concept Supra. As we come down the next corner here, everyone's gone a bit crazy here as Cobber here filters back in after having a big moment and getting a 2-second penalty. As we go around the corner with No Name, heading down to, I believe it's called Puan. I'm still learning the track corner, so I apologise for that. As we come through a corner that's been catching everyone out, including myself, so far today, as we get a nice line through there, but unfortunately not enough to really make a move on Cobber here. We're sitting right behind him, he's got a 2-second penalty, as someone has found barrier, and as that happens, we think about going up the inside of Cobber here, but I think it's only half-hearted at this point, just because of the fact he's about to serve a 2-second penalty and not be a threat to me for the rest of the race. Fun fact, Cobber's actually on the medium tyres for this, so he's got to go for a pit stop at some point in this race. Now this has pretty much already destroyed his race, not even a lap in, as he goes to serve his 2-second penalty with the Mazda 3 racing car, or the Mazda 6 Jeep Group 3 car right behind me. As you look at the bottom right, I'm looking at my mirror. As we come around the left hand, there's a slight lift in the throttle as we throw it in, within touching distance of the cars ahead. As we come up to the bus stop chicane for the second time this race, one of the few cars that will go through it 9 times this race, we catch up to a pack of 4 cars, 2 Mercedes, 3 Mercedes and 1 Supra, as we all, pretty much 4 or 5 cars battling here as we go into turn 1, trying to figure out what's going to happen. Lap 8 of the previous race, I had GT3 here, did the exact same move to him, get a very tight line, able to get on the power sooner than him, better exit as I break through up into P9. As we come down the hill for the second time this race, we're moving up to Eau Rouge and Raidillon once again, firmly in the sights of the 3 Mercedes AMGs. With the other Supra right behind me, I've got no chance of taking it easy here, as I need to make the most of the next section of the track and try and start making some moves. As the 3 Mercedes and I pull away from the Supra from behind, build a bit of a gap as we go on to the sweeping back straight, heading up to the bus stop chicane once again, getting a nice solid run out the corner, as Spec Zero runs wide onto the dirt there and unfortunately loses a lot of time and loses a few places there, as I go up the inside of the blue and yellow Mercedes. Got to lift off slightly here, but I managed to get over across. I'd finished the move in time, able to take the driving line as he runs a little bit wide, loses a bit of traction as we are now pushing up P7, chasing P6, trying to get the last of the Mercedes as we go through the bus stop chicane for the third time this race. And all the cars behind still right behind me, battling it out for the positions that are so far. As that Cobber guy makes another mistake, I believe it's Cobber, there's two cars there of the same nature. But as we go down turn 1 for the third time this race, get a nice exit and able to get in the toe of that Mercedes as I run a little bit wide but managed to stop the car from spinning out too much. Finish the straight and coming down the right hand here, we've already caught up the Mercedes and pulled away from the cars behind as we go through the turn with No Name. And man's just taking too much curb and just taking himself out there, lost a few positions. Devastating to see, but that's opened us up into P6 and now it's just a matter of time with all this open track till I catch up to the cars ahead, which as we can see are quite far ahead, for about 5 or 6 seconds at this point, and I've got about 5 laps to catch him. Let's see what I can do. Over the next few laps, not a lot happens here. I'm just very consistent, doing constant 2:20, which at this point is pretty quick. But as we get later in the week, I'll probably be aiming for constant 2:19s. But I'm just going to transition a bit later on in the race now, so we can see some more interesting stuff and not waste about 10 minutes worth of actionless racing. As we're coming down the hill on lap 6 of 8, 3 cars ahead of me have all caught up. The one that was right at the back of this pack actually fell off and caught them back up. But just as he's caught them up, he's gone for an overtake and he's actually binned it. As we go past him now, we move up into P4. A car pitted before, which gave us a free place before as well, but now we're into P4. And it's looking like if we can keep this pace up, we might even get a podium at this rate. As we come down to the bus stop chicane for the second last time this race, have a drink every time I say bus stop chicane. Pretty close to the cars ahead, not really in a position to really be challenging them at the moment. As we come around the final, as we come across to the start finish line for the final time this race, for our 8th lap, as you look at the top left, I move from P4 to P3 as I readjust my seating position because it gets exhausting. As we come down to turn 1 for the final time, and nail the exit and just get the power down. P2 and P1 are pretty much in each other's draft at this point, and there's not much going to happen here from now on. As we push up, I do notice that P2 and P1 had slightly different exits, and P2 has dropped back a fair bit, as I nail Eau Rouge and Raidillon carrying maximum speed, maybe gearing a little bit too late, as you can short shift a little bit early if you come over the crest of the hill there at Raidillon. As we come up to this very deceiving right-hander here, we see just as we get in distance of him, the Audi R8 ahead of us, a 0.5 second penalty. As I've seen this, it's awoken me, so to speak, to try and get as close as I can to it, so I have an opportunity to snatch P2 in a race where I started P14 of 16 over 8 laps of Spa. Some cars had to pit, but they made the choice. The guy that started P1 ends up being about 13 seconds behind me, so that's kind of proven that the medium-hard race is not the way to go. As we come round Pouhon for the final time, we are within half a second of the car ahead. We just have to be consistent and not make any mistakes now, and P2 is almost all but guaranteed. Keep it nice and neat, not really being too aggressive here, just trying to keep traction, short shifting into third gear. Third gear's been a great gear this race, as it does stop a lot of wheel spin under rotation. As we come to the back straight, not being overly aggressive here, slight lift off as we get the power down, better exit than the Audi R8. As we come around to the final part of the track, he served us half second penalty, straight through him, and we've now got a comfortable lead on him. He's not going to be able to do anything unless I make an error here. I lift off slightly here, not worth the risk at all. I'd rather just get to the race nice and cleanly. As we come to the final breaking point of the race, P1 just there, within grasp. And I compared our tyres at the end of the race. His rears were a lot worse than mine were, but his front end was a lot better than mine, so I'm curious about what that is. As we're 3 seconds behind, and it was quite an enjoyable race. Very fun when you start from the back and work your way through. And everyone's very respectable, so this has been a very enjoyable race. Thank you for watching.